guys, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Tuesday, May 24th. And today, Venus moves into Gemini. But there is a lot of energy. Because anytime anything moves into Gemini, you can darn well bet that there's two types of energies that you can tune into. You can either tune into the optimistic, fun-loving Earth trine that's really trying to give you some stability, really trying to reduce the extremes in your life, really trying to bring you into consistent thought processes. It's trying to ground your what you seek pleasure in. So Venus is a very pleasurable, decadent energy, and it's all about pleasure. But if some of us have this Gemini energy influencing our choices, then what it can do is sometimes it can be like, well, 1 minute I want this, and the next minute I want that, and there's no consistency, there's no commitment to anything. And so the pleasure that we feel is somewhat all over the place. So there's the ability to have an extreme high and an extreme low at any given moment because there's no consistency in what you're investing in. For some of you, it's very apparent. So for some of you, what could happen because of this is the Sun's in Gemini. What you desire may be somewhat erratic, and you're missing the boat on the Earth trine. What we're trying to do is to attach to positive energy at all times. We don't want to go toward the energy that's confusing, distracting, making our choices inconsistent, that just adds a lot of confusion, and it adds a lot of instability emotionally. So what we're trying to do in this energy, I believe right now, or this time period astrologically, is I think that we're trying to find a way to embrace Gemini energy, but still be able to look at the long range goal of everything that we're doing. So if we're going to add pleasure, I want to take a look at this. If we're going to add any source of pleasure, we're going to choose that pleasure source because it gives us an immediate high. But there's no chance it's going to give us the consistent, steady stream of high. I'm going to give you, for instance, when you first start taking anti-anxiety medication or any sort of antidepressant or any sort of medication at all, it has to get to a therapeutic level in your body. So some people are like, I don't get it. I took this medication. It didn't do anything. Well, it has to build. It has to build to a therapeutic effect. You get to the right dose, and then you always give your body that consistent right dose at the consistent time, and it puts your body into a state of homeostasis in whatever area you're medicating. So that's essentially what you're doing right now. You're trying to give yourself a consistent source of pleasure and be adaptable, and ground your energy and make a choice that provides you with a long-term consistent source of pleasure. But you want to be very reasonable about it. So there has to be enough logic and reason to support it as well, because you do have the Gemini energy influencing you. Flip side of this is some people in a negative energy, when Venus goes into Gemini, if they're being aspected in a negative way, what can happen is it can make you want to have an extreme high and you'll always dip to an extreme low. Think of your blood sugar. If you go out and you have something that has a lot of sugar, inevitably what you're going to have is you're going to have a sugar spike, and then you're going to have a sugar crash. So what we're trying to do is resist the ability to have the high and the low. What we're trying to do is invest in and make us more adaptable to less extremes in energy. Many of us habitually, because of life experience and what's been going on in the world, have been drawn to extremes because life has been extreme. Energy has been extreme. The universe has been extreme. There is so much outside influencing us that is asking us to be in this extreme environment that we don't really know how to appreciate, value, and feel pleasure in a consistent energy source. For some of us, that's super boring. You know, it's not very stimulating. We'll get bored and eventually try to do something like self-sabotage it to add some sort of extreme in it, just so we get that spike of that low and that high again. It also helps us understand addictive tendencies. Addictive tendencies work along the same ways. You know, addiction right now, I feel for many people is completely out of control. And it doesn't matter what you're talking about. It could be addictive, repetitive thought processes that no longer serve you, but you are failing to want to release because there is a comfort in the dysfunction. It could be for some of you, you're an alcoholic. It could be for some of you that you have to smoke pot every day because you just can't freaking function without something calming you down, because you need to just be under the influence of something besides reality. For some of you, it could be drugs. You know, it could be prescription drugs. Some of you could be, you know, needing an Adderall, right, to get through your day, to give you that buzz, but then you need something like a lorazepam to calm you down. You're still, yeah, it's prescribed, but it's still extremes. It's a chemical extreme in your body. And all your body tries to do every single day, every minute that it's conscious and unconscious, is trying to get your body in a state of homeostasis. So if you give your body enough of these extremes, well, it just responds and says, okay, I need these extremes to either feel pleasure or to relax. And so you'll crave it, and then you'll get addicted, and that's the cycle. All of these are habitual patterns. All of them have two things in common. It's either a source of pleasure or a source to move away from pain. But you have made your life and energy and outside influences and extremes have made you completely lack mental stability. Some of you are like, well, I'm completely stable. I don't know what you're talking about. Really? Really? Are you really, really stable? Do you really seek pleasure in a peaceful environment where there is no extreme whatsoever? Do you get bored easily? Do you need to have 15 multimedia devices on to feel stimulated because you're so stimulated, overstimulated by media? Like, that's an addiction too. Having to have your cell phone on you, texting continuously, having YouTube on, having, a music on, having to have something to stimulate you other than your current present moment. That is an addiction as well. So many of us are learning these extremes about us. There's a revelation process going on. For some of us, I don't think we actually knew that we had these extremes in our personality. I think that's being revealed. This earth trine is really compelling us to take a look at this. And I think it's very substantial. At the same time we're having this go on, we've got Venus moving in to Gemini energy, and then we have all this energy squaring off, the sun squaring off, and Saturn squaring off with energy. At that same time, we have the sun and Venus in this conjunction. So what it can do is, for people who are working in a really low vibration, what it can do is make you justify your need for pleasure. It's a very pleasurable energy. So if some of you desire instability habitually, you're going to justify, so logic and reason is going to say, hey, I think you need to focus here. But then your repetitive automated responses are going to be like, oop, that made me feel bad. I need this source to make me feel good. So that's it. That's all, because you're a robot in your life. You're a habitual robot. And I believe that for some of us, there is an awakening in the fact that we don't want to be an habitual robot. We want to choose our pleasure sources, and we want them to be consistent, and we want them to be less extreme. We want to start to feed our body, our mind, our thoughts, our physical being, something that is consistent so that we're not feeling extreme, because some of us are so freaking sick of an extreme lifestyle. We're getting there. I just think it's a journey right now. And it's a journey because for many of us, it's just it's so easy to get what you pleasure, especially if it's not good for you. Like, it's easy. You know what? If I don't feel good about myself, I'm going to go have sex with somebody. And that makes me feel good, even though it's completely inaccurate, you know, but it's out there. It's so easy to get. You could just, it's so easy, you know. For some of you, it's not about building a relationship and getting a consistent sexual source, a companion, somebody that understands you and elevates your experience as far as in sexual intimacy. It's just about the act of sexual and getting off for some of you. I mean, I know it sounds very blunt and very honest, but if you really want to talk about it, that's a huge pleasure. I cannot say pleasure today. Pleasure source. So I just want you to see the big picture. I know it's a lot of information, but when all of this energy starts to dump in to Gemini, like it's gonna, these are things you need to keep in mind as you're dealing with the twin on the regular basis, the difference in thought processes, the negative versus positive energy, how it can pull these twins apart and make them go in completely opposite directions and make your thoughts inconsistent and your actions even more confusing for yourself. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner. I'm going to be right back to tell you how this is going to affect your sun, your moon, your rising sign, and ideas, and check out my Venus sign. Hi guys, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading, dear Aries, for Venus moving into Gemini. Now for you, when Venus moves into Gemini, your ruler will be inspiring you to lighten up about your closest relationships. You may begin to focus daily both on the big picture and what it will take on the day-to-day basis to elevate your thoughts regarding a positive outcome. The best way to generate a change in your life is to put your mind in a pleasurable mindset. Meaning, it feels good to give this relationship another try. It feels good it feels optimistic. It feels hopeful. You have to consciously put your mind there. Especially if some of you are revitalizing relationships. If you're trying to create a close bond once again. Venus moving into Gemini is all about is all about feeling good in your closest bonds, significant relationships and unions. It's all about feeling a lot of pleasure. It's about intellectually being stimulated as well as physically being compensated. That's another source of a very powerful energy. I love that your energy right now, Mars, your ruler, is in opposition. It's not in a square. So we've got this elevated experience, this big picture, really honestly in opposition with our lower immediate environment. But what that more importantly does is it allows you to see balance a little easier. It's just an opposition. It's two sides of a debate. Two sides of a coin. It's the yin and yang. It's the dark and the light energy. When you are looking at it from this perspective, it is much easier. You don't feel as compelled to resist this energy as you would if it was a square or quincunx. So I feel like this is a growth cycle. I feel like there's a lot to learn. Reason and logic are going to come into play in this energy, and especially in your relationships, your bonds, your significant partnerships, your unions. More importantly, I believe that this has a lot of growth potential in your immediate environment. So there's a lot of ease that you can start to establish. There's a lot of powerful mindset that you could start to kind of put in place on a day-to-day basis that really invigorates this whole entire process. I think that you may attract conversations that streamline this process very easily. Venus rules attraction. So for some of you, what you're really desiring is to be understood, or not even to be understood so much as for there to be, okay, so I'm understood, but let's set up some processes that really get us closer to what we desire. And then the sun's in Gemini. So this is all about, hey, I want to feel good. I've got these ideas. Logic and reason says, hey, these things will work out. there could be some opposition, but I feel this way still. Okay, well, all right, now I know your position, but you're so elevated in this energy that you can look at their perspective, and it allows you to have a little bit more balance. This energy is maybe so engaged mentally that you may feel compelled to share your realizations with others. For you, this has a lot to do with growing up, maturing in mindsets. It has a lot to do with being compelled to share wisdom and knowledge. I think that it is wonderful energy to socialize in. This is a social butterfly energy, super positive energy. You're going to be enchanting in conversations. They are going to see you as, sometimes the way that an Aries energy comes off is kind of like self-oriented and superficial. But I believe in this energy, they're going to see some maturity, some knowledge, some wisdom. People are just going to look at you a different way if you're really caught in a high vibration and energy, especially, and if it starts to get debatable, I think that you're going to be able to, for some of you, if you're working in a high vibration, to be able to validate what other people are thinking. That actually helps heal your own wounds as well. Like for some of you, maybe if you were never validated in the way that you thought, or you did not feel validated, I believe that for some of you, you're attracting people that will help heal the fact that you are misunderstood, because you're just starting to be understood in this energy. Does have the possibility of beautiful energy. Just remember that opposition is a chance to shine. It's a chance to weigh things out. It's a chance to look at both sides. This is when the twin energy is at its finest. It's because if you get opposition, it's no different than doing a scientific experiment, being very firm that scientific experiment is going to work out, and then it goes wrong, and you go into this problem-solving kind of mindset of like, why is this wrong? Like, where did it, exactly at what point did it go wrong? And it's very elevating to like really, pick apart. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi dear Taurus, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Venus moving into Gemini. Now, this is your ruler, and it is going into Gemini. This energy will influence you to be adaptable, which is great for fixed energy. The duality of this energy for you could be learning how to adapt to some significant changing sources of energy in your life. Is this a good feeling? I can say that it can be challenging for a fixed energy source to be this open-minded. But I think that there is something that is in your life that you are now valuing enough to adapt some of your fixed mindsets. And that is beautiful. We have Venus in Gemini. It is going to be conjunct the Sun in Gemini. So this is something that you desire enough and value enough, and perhaps it's a significant person in your life that you value enough, or a relationship, a union, a bond, a close partnership, for you to be able to say, wow, I need to make some changes because you know what? I can see the big picture, and I've been stuck in a mindset for a long time, and I really want to break free and just kind of adventure out into a different mindset. So some of you may be challenged to surround yourselves with others that you feel deeply understand what you want and need moving forward. There could be somebody in your life that deeply understands you, like almost for the first time. It feels like for the first time energy. It's something that I think that you deeply, deeply resonate with. And I believe that this has the path to generate a lot of hope in your mindset, a lot of validation, a lot of support. This really grounds you. Whatever this is a grounding source of energy. for some of you. So you may be somewhat lighthearted in this energy as you're making these changes. This is somewhat of a superficial energy, so there has to be enough compensation for you to want to move forward with this. Let's get down to the nuts and bolts of it. It either has to be, it has to feel very good that you're going to make these changes, or there has to be, you have to be able to look at it and see that later down the road, I'm going to be compensated in this way, and so I am ready to move forward because I deeply feel that this is going to be a consistent source of whatever it is I value, right? There's going to be a consistent commitment. There's going to be something that you value enough to put forth this effort. I think that you may feel motivated to change the direction you are going in your life if you are currently enjoying what you have right now. So for some of you, making this change, I'm not saying that making a change and committing to something is easy. It never is when you have your sun in Gemini conjunct with Venus in Gemini. Making a commitment to anything can feel a little bit grating. But there's also this play on this energy, all this dualistic energy of, oh my God, but I value this source enough to kind of go against the grade right now. You can get a little moody. You can get a little, you can get a little opinionated, but then draw back on that opinion because, you know, you're really playing with the versatility of a mindset right now. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what I think it boils every time down to, no matter what, how much this energy kind of causes you to be wobbly, I think in the end, because you value it enough, you're going to, because logically, rationally, you value this source enough to actually consider making these changes. So I think you are not interested in being tied down to a serious obligation, but that you may consider this energy, I believe that if some of you, it's not about making that commitment to forever. It's about making that commitment to enjoy what I have right now. I value what I have right now. I don't see this as the energy where you're going to ask somebody to marry you. No way, not in Gemini energy. But what it is it's that energy of like, I value this person. They're lightening my life. They're fun. They're easy. They're engaging. It's attractive to me enough to like have this grounding type force of energy, that earth trine energy. You could see this as being a consistent source of pleasure. Not a big high, not a big low, but honestly no extreme. And that's something to feel a lot of comfort in. When you are thinking about, and some of you I think are thinking about the commitment level, but I believe it's a process. It's a process to make a commitment because you don't want to make any more mistakes. And so reason and logic has to support what you value. There's a lot of thinking going on. I believe this is excellent social energy for some of you that wish to attract the things that you value most. Get out there, mix, mingle. This is a great time for you to, really attract new social circles, friends, really align with what you hope and dream for your future as well. Look, if you're sitting there and you're single and you're alone and you're like, I don't have anything I value. Like, I don't have the career I value. I don't have the people I value. Well, it's the time is now. Because we have this earth trine going on that is extremely magnetic for consistency and longevity. And we also have you being able to attract pleasure in a consistent source for a very long time. So this is the time that I believe that if some of you are willing to make some changes, that this is the time to get your butt out there. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, dear Gemini. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Venus moving into Gemini. Now, Venus moving into Gemini is a beautiful source of energy for you. Now, for one, of course, why wouldn't it be? It has a lot to do with who you are, what you identify with. It's your energy source. So it's very easy for you to really embrace the adaptability, the duality of Gemini energy, where I think for some people it's a lot harder. So when Venus moves into your energy today, for many of you, this energy will make you feel at ease in a relationship. I think especially if some of you are exploring the relationship that you have with a sense of self. Okay, so what you're looking at your life right now is what I have in my life, does it please me? Is it what I wish to attract into my life? Do I identify enough significance to continue walking this path? I believe that's this energy, it's getting you're thinking. There's a lot going on in your mind, and I think people realize what it is doing is it is auto-correcting the life path that you have been on significantly for some time. For some of you, I kind of feel like you've been on a hamster on a wheel, kind of more or less attracting the same types of situations, circumstances. I think some of you are habitually attracted to extremes in energy, highs and lows. It's kind of easy for you to adapt between the two, so I don't think you realize just how out of skew some of that energy has gotten for you. I believe that if some of you you don't realize how much extremes actually deplete pleasure. I think that a significant relationship, bond, partnership, and union, this is somebody that you validate highly. I think that this source is going to come to you and say, you know what, this is your extremes, and it sucks to be with you, or it sucks to deal with it. Like, can't you just have the realization that you need to be in the middle, that extremes suck for those around you? Like, I believe that some of you are having these kinds of conversations. It may not be kind of like that, but you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. So I believe that some of you may be feeling grounded and secure, and you may be feeling this way because your home and family are providing you with a great deal of comfort. Now, for some of you, there is a sense of being grounded in your own physical home, in your mental home, the body that your soul is encompassing, right? And there's a sense of you're at peace with yourself, right? Which grounds your choices a little bit better. For some of you that are not at peace with yourself, that you are not identifying what you need to correct, what is extreme, what is a high, and what's a low. Why are you not grounded? Why are you not making stable and significant choices? Why are you not embracing the beauty that this earth trine has to offer? You can't see it because it would be boring to you because it's too consistent. I think that for some of you, relationships are going to be in your face about that, because relationships are our mirrors. We attract where we're deficient so that we can correct it, so that we can see it. If we see it unpleasant in somebody else, then it makes us think about ourselves, right? So if we see somebody being extreme in their behaviors, you can bet we're extreme in our behavior, but we don't see it until we see somebody else's behavior being so extreme. And then we're like, oh, that person is like crazy dual mindset. So for some of us, the realizations that we're having in our significant partnerships, bonds, unions, relationships that we deeply value, is that we're looking at them and we're seeing us, and we're seeing who we are in them, and that's unpleasant. That's Saturn tweaking the karmic cycle out of you. Like, it's really trying to give you that realization, push forward the concepts that it's trying to say, hey, let's adventure and go out on a new mindset. Let's learn. Let's look at the big picture. What was the message? What have I been saying to you for a really long? How have I been trying to steer you for a very, very long time? So I think that you may feel at this point, for some of you working in the high vibration, the trine energy is lovely. And for some of you, there's just an ease in energy to be moving in the direction that you need to go. So for some of you, you know, it's going to be very easy for you. There's going to be almost a magnetic attraction to ease and energy. If some of you are on the right track, if your twins are talking and communicating with each other, if your twins are both in the same mindset, of course you have to have two separate points of views at all times, because that's what makes a Gemini a Gemini. But I believe that you're attracting progression in your career. I think that you're attracting financial security. I think that some of you are attracting new beginnings quite easily in this energy. I think for some of you, the realization that comes from all of this energy is I really am done with the extremes. That's if you're attaching to the energy in the Earth trine. If you're attaching to Saturn's lesson, then it's a bunch of chaos in relationships and extremes in relationships really screaming at you to pay attention to you. Like there's something off balance about what you're doing. I believe that there is a potential for tremendous growth if you're interested in stabilizing your energy. I believe for those of you caught in the past, you may be refusing to see the progressive opportunity before you. Some of you may be still idealizing the past or refusing to let go of something. There's a comfort in the dysfunction of that past mindset or that past pattern or that past karmic cycle. I believe that to me, this energy always reminds me of the cheerleader or the football player that just won't grow the hell up. They're living constantly in how big they were in high school, and they refuse to see that there's growth and opportunity in mental maturity. Like they refuse to mentally grow up. It's almost like they want to be a continuous kid and they want to attach to that. But the energy really is pushing you to grow up, mature, and see the wisdom in moving forward. I think for some of you, committing to significant relationships may bring up weaknesses in character from the past. So for some of you, this Earth trine energy is getting you to think about the long-term perspectives. And I think what can be really difficult is when we start to think of that stuff is we really start to identify and see in us why we can't make these commitments. I know I'm a huge commitment phobe. I'm probably the biggest commitment. I can't even commit to a plan, like a cell phone plan, because I feel like I'm bound to the plan. Like everything is just a bind. Like I look at everything as binding. So when I start to date somebody, it's very difficult for me to embrace the word that I'm dating, because that to me it's a ball on a chain. It's being bound. It's like marriage is next. Like I'm just very weird. I have a Gemini rising, so this is I identify with this energy super easy. I have been forced to revisit, well, why am I so fearful of commitment? What motivates that fear? Like, that's where you should be getting down to, is what is motivating the anxiety about committing to a long-term goal or a mindset, or kind of settling into a consistent source of energy. I mean, sometimes when we feel like we're settling into an inconsistent source of energy, we feel like we're just settling. That's not true. What we're really doing is having a fear of losing freedom. We have to identify what we're truly deeply fearful of. It's a mental play. And again, this is going to be very elevated thinking. This is Saturn working in that karmic lesson cycle, trying to release you, trying to push you forward, really trying to get you to relive some of these past experiences, lots and lots of past, influencing the way that we're going to move forward. Mercury is really trying to rev this up, still caught in this cycle of this internal process. However, there's still some growth to be had, I guess, is what I'm saying. There will be pleasure that comes from that. But what you have to embrace is the pleasure has to be a consistent source of energy. It can't be the pleasure has to be that extreme high or that extreme low. Saturn's going to come in and kick your ass. But if the energy that you're investing in is consistent, ease, harmony, there's just a trine flow of energy, absolutely a gorgeous energy for you. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Well, hello, dear Cancer. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Venus moving into Gemini. Now, at the time that Venus moves into Gemini, understand you're a little bit harder to predict as an energy source than I think anybody is. I kind of look at the beginning of the cycle, and then I kind of tell you how Venus is aspected throughout this cycle. But I think the inevitable shove, the emotional motivation, is where you kind of need to set that starting point. It's like you're at the start of the race. And so that's why I talk about where the moon's at, your luminary, your ruler, is at the time of this event, because it's good to know where the starting energy is. And so for you, it can go one of two ways. Now, and granted, that's because this is very Gemini kind of energy. But more importantly, anytime that you get into Gemini, you deal with your opposing energy, which is Capricorn energy. So it is trining right now. The moon is trining Uranus, and that can be a lovely source of energy. For some of you caught in a high vibration, you know, when what we identify our sense of self with, what we want, what motivates us to make changes. I don't feel it's as extreme right now because it's, you know, Uranus is trining it. I'm not saying that it can't be extreme. I'm just saying that for some of you caught in the very, very high vibration, there's just a sense of ease with a sense of self, so that the relationships in your life, the emotional consistency in the relationships in your life is starting to feel a lot more at ease. Now, is that the way it is with everybody? No, and I'm going to tell you why. Because the moon, at the time of this energy start, the time where we are going to hit the gun, and the gun's just going to tell us to run, that is going to be in a quincunx. So this has to do with your mind. This has to do with what you feel emotionally insecure about in relationships. Where is the tumultuous energy mentally? Now, for some of you, this has to do with something that is completely a type of automated response to building relationships, building security, building longevity within your current relationships. For some of you, this is really getting down to the nitty-gritty of about where is your energy inconsistent, your mindset. This energy could bring out the extremes in fear and pleasure. So, you know, of course, I've talked about this before, but there's two things that motivate every human being. We either have a desire to walk toward pleasure, or we have a desire to move away from pain. So for some of you, you're in an extreme in that type of mindset. You either want lots and lots of pleasure, and then when it's not pleasurable, you're like out the door, or you don't even engage in the first place because you'll concentrate on your career, life path, destiny, and that'll be the trine in energy. So for some of you, that's very alluring. I don't even want to engage with partnerships because, you know what, I've got this pleasurable source of energy over here in my career, life path, destiny. It's making me feel good. So F relationships, because that's where I would have to work through things. I don't really want to work there. For some of you, this has everything to do with the fact that you're attracting attention. You're attracting significant potential. You're attracting, I know that within the last week, I've never got so much attention. Like, I usually just go through life and don't get a lot of attention, but I've got a lot of attention. And I believe that you're just attracting attention without even doing anything. You're not changing anything. It's just that there could be some opportunities that either you choose or you don't choose. Like, do you flirt? Do you don't flirt? Like, do you turn on the Cancer magnetic charm? Or do you, like, in fear, resist that because you don't want to attract any type of relationship? It could be a stable source, a friend, a partnership, a significant bond that could really start to elevate you and pull you away from these, like, terrible, fearful mindsets. It also, what it does is reveal our weaknesses and our strengths. That's very Gemini energy. So when we are feeling weak, what do we do to get that high again? What do we do to get that pleasurable feeling again? Is that unstable? Are you still unstable? Because if you are, then you're attracting energy, others into your life that push those extremes to get you to understand and to be more reasonable in what you, being emotionally consistent, reliable, goal-oriented, compartmentalizing energy very easily. It's very difficult if you're in extremes to be able to do that. I know that for the last week, energy was so crazy that I was just fearful for no reason. I can't even tell you why, but I was sick. I was driving everybody crazy. So you know what I had to do? I just decided, bite me. I'm not letting fear bug me anymore. So at work, I have these stairs. I would just run up and down the stairs every single time I felt like there was some sort of instability or some sort of deep down energy overload, emotional overload for no reason whatsoever. Nothing was changing. Nothing was significantly going on in my life. But I would run up and down the stairs, and then that would release, serotonin and dopamine in my system, and it would provide a little bit of mental stability. It's no different than taking an antidepressant or an anti-anxiety medication. It's just my body's natural antidepressant or anxiety medication. And so I refuse to yield. I'm done. I don't want instability anymore. I want to take control of that. That's very elevated thinking. But I think before we go through that, we have to see this weakness. We have to feel this wound. We have to still feel vulnerable. We have to still address what is unconsciously motivating some of our reactions. Very reactive energy. Anytime you get the sun in Gemini and you get Venus in Gemini, it's just a very woo kind of reactive energy. So just be mindful. This energy will depend on the relationship that you have with self. Absolutely. The challenge will be to love yourself enough to proceed forward and to give yourself the relationships in your life that change the way that you perceive a protective mindset. Meaning, for some of you, you don't want the chance for anybody to penetrate your force field of emotion, because if they get to you, then they could hurt you. These are unconscious things we do. It's so becoming conscious and applying some logic and reason, Gemini energy, can help you come up with mindsets like mine. You know what? If I'm starting to get fearful, I'm enjoying a relationship that I'm in, so it makes me fearful that it can go away. So then I go into these weird spins. I don't even know where they come from. It's so automated with me. I don't even know. I can't even tell you how deep it goes. I don't even know where it even stemmed from. I'm figuring it out, but I don't know. So then it's like, F that, I'm going to ruin my relationship if I keep spinning in these mindsets. So you know what? I'm taking control. I'm running up and down the stairs, and I'm doing something to feel better. Even if it's just in that moment. It's a repetitive cycle. It's an autocorrection. I have the control to do that, and so do you. So it's just about revealing these suppressed desires that we have. We've suppressed something for some of us. Definitely caught in the negative vibration, which is very, very hardcore, by the way, when this starts out, that you have suppressed it to the point of it is just festering insecurity, and it is festering the wrong energy in you, and it is boiling up at this point unconsciously. You're like that repetitive robot. So this is making you very aware of this weakness, but it's also making you very aware of the strength to dominate, control, and overcome it. It's just the duality I know is crazy for such a fix. I know that you guys have the ability to make up a mindset and change it. You're a cardinal energy, so it's all about do, change. It's just getting to the point in your mindset where you acknowledge the weakness and you really, really start to be honest that it even is there, so that you can see the wound for what it is. And you can really start to address this wound that's been significantly, I think, blocking you for a very long time. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, my beautiful dear Leos. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Venus moving into Gemini. Now, this energy can be delicious, absolutely lovely and delicious for those lions that have set clear boundaries and has been making changes that will lighten up a lot of your emotional burdens. And for some of you, what that has a great deal to do with is being motivated to take a look at consistent sources of energy to invest in. Anytime that you have a really, like, you're the king of your jungle, right? You're in control of the herd, you know, whatever you feel that is. So whether it could be like your success, whether it could be the recognition that you're desiring, whether it could be like your actual, like, the people in your life. If you feel like you are having some control over the direction that things are going, then you're a pretty powerful lion or lioness in this energy. So I believe that some of you, this is great energy to magnetically attract the right types of social situations, start to generate some hopeful mindsets, start to get you on the right track, start to get you to think optimistically. Anytime we get Gemini energy in the sun and your ruler, and it is conjunct with Venus, this is all about pleasure, baby. This is all about feeling good. Feeling good, feeling valued, feeling, for you, what motivates you, it's all heart, right? So for some of you, you could be love. Love could be beautiful in your life. You could be making some positive changes. You could having very intimate thought processes about, somebody, a significant relationship. You know, there could be some really significant energy coming your way. There is a bit of risk involved. And again, this is kind of one of those energies where I think you're kind of hesitating. Again, you're not wanting to be quite as extreme. You're a dramatic energy. You always will be. So that's kind of why you work well in this Gemini energy. But the extreme, you're not actually attracted to the extreme if you're in a really high positive form of this energy. If you're in a positive form, if you're a light worker, you're just really attracted to the light, the light-hearted side of this energy, then I think what this has to do with is taking very conservative, well thought out risks, where, you're really thinking through each step. A lot of logic and reason is starting to support some of your mindsets. I think that if you desire growth, prosperity, and moving toward what you value most, I think that you will daily attract it. I think it's very easy in a positive energy. Again, this energy is moving you away from these karmic cycles because you're making some changes. You're really making a change to move away from something that's a weakness. I think for you, social circles may be critical of what you value at this time, but it will also dissolve negative ties. So I believe that for some of you, in the negative side of the energy, or the dualistic, the opposing side of the twin, or the dark twin or the light twin, however, yin, yang, gray, like white, black, no gray, like however you want to look at it, I think that for some of you, it's just the ability to be, for some of you, it could just be you're emotionally too conservative, and so you're kind of fearful of taking an emotional risk. I believe that for some of you, it's a mindset. I believe that for some of you, you could have become very fixed in a ritual routine, a mindset, a habitual mindset, I think. that I think that you really are being asked to see if it's really as stable of a mindset as you believe it to be. So there could be some squaring off where some energy is really, really expanded by Jupiter to really assess what you value. So I believe that if some of you are valuing to be the center of attention, but there's no balance in it, meaning I can be the center of attention, but maybe at home I don't have to be the center of attention. You know, I can let other people have the floor. I believe that you're going to be, you know, in the high form of vibration. But for some of you, it's like all me, 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 me. Look at me. I'm so amazing. You know, your pleasure seeking is out of control. You're just this decadent lion out there thinking everything should come to them. And you're just completely idealistic. You're not really realistic. I believe that you're going to get your ass just handed to you in this energy, because it does have the ability to reveal emotions that have been bottled up, and tonight looking at both sides of a pleasurable outcome that is inspiring you to make some positive changes. For some of you, this is about grounding the way that you are making your choices. It can't be the extreme. I feel good. I feel high. I'm going that way because it's so high. Why would you be able to resist it? Or flip side, it feels terrible. It's not what I'm used to. It doesn't feel good. I'm a little bit apprehensive. You know, I don't feel like I have as much control if I go that route. Well, I believe that that's a really negative source of energy for you. And I believe that I think that hopefully you are balanced enough to see these extremes, and you're, you know, attaching more firmly to the earth trine. I believe what this is deeply motivating you is to really reconsider the extremes in energy, and to really start to ground your choices, make them much more reasonable, much more logical. And I believe that it opens up really positive energy source for you. It's actually a beautiful, beautiful experience for those caught in in the elevated vibration. Anyhow, thank you guys so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi Virgos, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Venus moving into Gemini. Now for you, what you value when Venus moves into Gemini will depend on your perspective. I think that if you are moving forward, a significant union or bond may be influencing you in the way that you perceive your future. For many of you, if you desire to feel pleasure, it may be greatly influenced by the path you desire to move forward with. So I believe that, as with all energy, there is, and especially this dualistic Gemini energy, Venus, it's all about pleasure and pain. It's all about moving in either direction, the extreme of it. So for some of you that are grounded, this earth trine is really influencing you to make some very reasonable, logical choices regarding your life path destiny and your closest relationships, bonds, and unions. I believe that some of you are making some significant progress. This will be such a lovely, pleasurable transit for you. You will begin to easily attract the circumstances that provide some consistency for you. That's very important for a Virgo. It's just a consistent energy, not a big high, not a big low, but just the pleasure of some sort of consistency in your day, the day-to-day details, you know, that it's just that mundane world that if it's just there's an ease there, then I think you're just feel at ease in general. I believe that you may be deeply compelled to stabilize a new relationship that you are attracted to, or maybe attracted to you, or some sort of significant bond as well. This is moving you away from karmic cycles that no longer serve you. You've been doing these circles for perhaps ever. And so for some of you, I believe there's a relief in that. I believe that the 12th house work that you're experiencing, you know, that Piscean mindset, is just the illusion that you can create a different outcome. If you take a look at reality, sometimes what we get caught up in is that a reality defines our destiny, and it doesn't. We at any point can change our mindsets. We can change our lives. We can make decisions that dramatically impact the direction our life is going in, but we have to have the cojones to do it. I mean, we just do. So I believe that for some of you, that if there's enough pleasure, enough consistency, enough ease, then I believe some of you are like, wow, I really do want to move in that direction. Now, I believe that some of you may be valuing making yourself more appealing. Hey, it doesn't sound right to say out loud, but if I'm being frank, and I always am, you know, if we are not attracting the relationships that we value or we want, then maybe we need to take a look at what it is about us that is attracting that, you know, these odd circumstances or these unstable relationships or these karmic lessons, karmic bonds with these people. And for some of us, the realization is you guys really idealize a physically fit partner, you know, really a consistent person, you know, somebody that you see yourself with, that you identify yourself, what you value in that person. So, but if all you can get is less than, on a very superficial type mindset, then I think it's time to take a look at, well, you know, if I only desire a partner that's physically fit, very Virgo. Virgo's really like a partner that's either attractive or physically fit, or they're very methodical, or they're just consistent. There's something extraordinary about that person. But all you're getting is the opposite, then I think you've got to take a look at yourself and think, well, what do I need to do with myself? And so for some of you, deeply identifying that process and then making significant changes in your life to re-identify what you identify with about yourself is going to easily attract. Now remember, this energy attracts easily what you deeply want and value at this time because it's conjunct with the sun. And so what you deeply want is very easy to attract. You just got to be super careful about what energy source you're attracting. Is it something that you're working, like say you're working through some automated programming, you know, you've been doing this your whole life, it's kind of, or you've been living up to the expectation of your family members, you've been doing what they say, or perhaps you're just like dating your mom or dating your dad. I mean, if you were to get down to the nuts and bolts of it psychologically, like that's what you're doing, then you're going to quincunx out in this energy. And I believe that the realization is, wow, you know, I didn't really realize that I had that issue. This is a very psychological process for some. For some, it's just a matter of moving forward and away from these psychological processes. But for some, it's very deep. For some of you, it's like 12th house work where you are diving deep into karma, you're diving deep into your mind, you're diving deep into the habitual patterns that no longer serve you. You're like taking a look at different belief systems. I mean, there's a lot going on possibly with this energy. So it's definitely something to take a look at. Anyhow, guys, if you value yourself to make some significant changes to make yourself more appealing, then guess what? You just get more appealing prospects for partners. And this doesn't even have anything to do with, some of you are like, well, I don't even want a partner. Well, okay, significant bonds and unions. People you deeply identify with. I mean, attract them. Like, we all need friends. We all need something that provides us with substance, conversation, recognition, validation, sources of people. People are excellent sources of validation. So I believe that some of you may have an unrealistic expectation. And if you have this unrealistic expectation, I believe it's just kind of like an autocorrect, like it's an extreme. So you're going to get an extreme response from the universe, and then you're going to get put into perspective, into a more grounding, type level of like, you're actually kind of here, like really, if you really want to know it. It'll just make your choices much more reasonable. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, dear Libras, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Venus moving into Gemini. Now, this is your ruler. It always feels good when your ruler is in kind of a positive, uplifting kind of energy source. Venus in Gemini is conjunct with the sun in Gemini. So I believe that for some of you, I think you're just really elevating your mind. You are really looking at the pros and cons. This is probably the biggest pro and con energy source I've ever seen. I mean, there is an extreme to this psychological process. There's a lot of growth potential, but there's an extreme to the opposing arguments that is going on in your mind. So there is a lot of energy in resistance. I think for some of you, it's just like this inner voice that tells you the elevated way to look at it is this. But habitually in your life, you're probably not reinforcing what your elevated mindset is asking you to reinforce. It's almost like there's an identity crisis between, or there's a lack of communication between the elevated experience and the day-to-day mindset. So I believe that for some of you, you are going to deeply connect with what you desire in the elevated experience, and what I think deeply brings you pleasure and makes you happy. I think if you're looking at it from, if you were just idealizing and looking at everything from an elevated perspective, this is exactly like disconnecting from what you currently have in your lower level mind, in your actual day-to-day lifestyle. If you're looking at it from the idealistic part, it's like, I think what you're doing is merging those two worlds a little bit more to be in the middle, because they're extreme. It's like you're either extremely deficient, either way. Like, you're either getting what you want on a day-to-day basis, but you don't see it being extremely long-term, but there's a good feeling right now, so you're just going with it. Or there is, I'm so enlightened by this person, but you don't see like spending your life on a day-to-day basis, with this person, or maybe they can't grasp, because they're so elevated, they can't grasp what it takes to get through a day-to-day life, in a very balanced way. There's just some extreme to it. I believe a lot of it has to do, again, with automated programming. I believe a lot of it has to do with some habitual patterns that is probably in your home and family environment, or has been in the past, that you habitually grew up with in this mindset. So what I believe this is doing is releasing you from that karmic cycle that no longer serves you. But before that happens, you have to make these two worlds a lot closer together, these mindsets. And so that is a journey, significantly in itself. There is, Venus is going to be conjunct the sun, and the sun is squaring off right now, and it is looking at these extremes. I believe that this has everything to do with the realization of where the energy is directing you, but habitually still repeating the same patterns that no longer serve you. It's a super complex energy. I think for some of you, you are changing the way that you daily respond to your significant bonds due to some past programming. You will feel optimistic about facing this challenge. I believe what that means is that for some of you, you're looking at elevating your significant bonds, at least getting them to elevate their mindsets or to understand your elevated perspective. But it's like this habitual life where you're just, I don't know, it's like there seems to be some sort of lack of communication, lack of understanding for some of you caught in that squaring off energy. I think this energy will encourage you to create some positive routines that provide you with some mental peace. Here's consistency, more or less. So here's what I believe. You're in a problem-solving mode. You've got these problems in your life, and you're like, I've got these great ideas, and here's how we can solve all of our problems, and everybody can have the most beautiful experience, because you're just loving life. You're just a light worker in this energy. But I believe what's happening is there is some challenge in getting people to be adaptable in that elevated mindset. Like, there's some resistance, and so there's just this frustration. And I believe that some of you, you're being very honest with yourself about where this stems from. This lack of understanding, this confusing type situation. I think that some of you may get a great deal of pleasure out of surrounding yourself with grounded people who offer you a lot of pleasure and reinforcement. This is time to get the troops on your side. And so to do that, some of you may have to seek people that have a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge, or people who have made the same mistakes that you have made and that you can get some perspective from. I think it's very revealing energy. For some of you, it's a great time to trust really grounded individuals to help you solve some of this problem. I know that you're extremely intelligent. You can solve anything on your own, but let's face it, if somebody has some significant life experience, they have the wisdom as well. It's like reinventing the wheel. Why reinvent the wheel when, you already have it right before you? It's beautiful energy. It does come with challenge, but I think what the point that I'm trying to get you guys to see is that inevitably what it does is it breaks you away from repetitive cycles, karmic cycles that you no longer need to travel upon, because the wisdom is right in your hands. If you can just merge the day-to-day mindset with this elevated concept. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, dear Scorpios. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Venus moving into Gemini. Now, we have been talking about this. We've been talking a lot about how you kind of have two energy sources working right now. You have your Mars experience and you have your Pluto experience. The duality of a Sun in Gemini conjunct with Venus in Gemini is that you can sometimes dualistically be dealing with these energy sources together. So for some of you, it can be extreme. Either some of you are extremely Plutonian or some of you are extremely Mars-based. You're past-based right now. Some of you are future-based, some of you are past-based. Some of you could be flipping back and forth and really kind of analyzing it and really kind of getting that mental agility to be able to identify whatever source you're in and kind of control the source that you're identifying with. So Venus moving into Gemini will be an uplifting energy when making a change. You will be guided to a more hopeful mindset. Now, this is if you are Plutonian based. If you are in touch with Pluto and you are caught in this Earth trine and you are stabilizing your environment, you're stabilizing your outcome, you're stabilizing your mindsets, even the people that you invite, the new relationships, the new things in your life that you're inviting in has a consistent source of energy, then you're probably attracting relationships that you value, that provide you with a consistent source of affirmation. So you could be setting yourself up with some significant bonds that have the ability to stand the test of time. That then makes a very comfortable Scorpio. The intensity dies down. You don't really connect all that much with Mars and the intense past lessons that really grind these points home. Really starts to remove you from the past and empower you. I believe that you may find it hard to commit to one person in this energy. This energy is going to make you, for some of you caught in a very high vibration, you're attracting a lot of attention. You're attracting circumstances. This is very, there's something about you. You have a very magnetic quality in this energy. And I think why you have this magnetic quality is for some of you caught in the high vibration, what it really instills is that you are a consistent source for somebody. You make people feel comfortable. You make people feel like you're always going to be there. Like they trust you in this energy. And that will attract relationships to you that you can then trust. Because they trust you, so you can trust them. It's not about seeing through the mask always. It's not about the Mars experience of like, well, what am I being guided to see? It's not that for you. I believe that committed bonds will provide you with strong foundation to build the rest of your hopes and dreams on moving forward. We need a stable foundation, and this Earth trine is all about stabilizing kind of your life, stabilizing your bonds, stabilizing your career, stabilizing your mindset, stabilizing new situations as well as established situations in your life, especially people. You know, these people are going to stand the test of time for some of you. Now, of course, there's always a negative side when you're dealing with a Scorpio, because there is the dark side. I mean, you're attracted to, sorry, I have an itch in my eye. Some of you, there's that dark side of energy that you always are compelled to see because you're a Scorpio and you're aware of the dark that lies in people because, you know, your ruler is the ruler of the underworld. So beware of energy that has excessive tendencies. This energy may overstimulate you. So for some of you, could be feeling so like on point that you're starting to get extremely excessive. Gemini energy is extremely excessive. It's either high or it's extremely low. So just be very, very mindful of the excessive tendencies that you have. It may be difficult for some of you to consider the consequences of excessive pleasure seeking because, again, it feels so good. For some, and there's no resistance. So for some of you, you know, the negative energy that I feel that you could be compelled to be drawn to is the fact that your ego, it's just your habitual patterns that you do. When you start to feel good, you start to get relaxed, you start to feel in control, and then you start to get excessive because there's nobody reeling you down and keeping the intensity on, keeping you, you know, at an even keel. So I do believe that opposition is probably the better source of negative vibration to attach to because it's more of a balancing mindset. It's more about changing the way that you're thinking and making consistency in, you know, putting you in the middle ground of excessiveness. So for some of you, if you become extremely aware that you're excessive, then I think what it's really doing is giving you that realization that you desire, that you deserve, that you do not feel good if you do not have a consistent source of just strong, healthy mindsets. I believe it's about really realigning some of your mindsets. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi dear Sagittarius, this is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Venus moving into Gemini. Now, Jupiter, at the time that this event happens, is going to be conjunct with the North Node. Again, that's good. It's kind of like a realignment process. It's kind of like, okay, am I on the direction consistently that in the area that I want my life to go? So it's kind of like you went through this, you had these two energies merge and be conjunct. They moved away from each other. And then you kind of like were looking at the whole balancing act, and now it's just reinforcing, I think, the way that you want to move forward. So I think that Jupiter's energy is very interesting. You definitely can go in a great deal of extremes. I believe this energy is all about balance. Ooh, if it's one energy that I want to really talk about the word balance with, it's you guys. Gemini energy is a bit of an extreme energy source, especially when the Sun and Venus are conjunct during this experience. It makes you feel entitled, deeply entitled to feel good, feel a lot of pleasure. So I think what is difficult about that is you have like logic and reason and grounding and just, you know, reinforcing some of your healthy routines. You know, it wants you to value stability, value longevity, value grounding, but you're not the easiest energy source to ground. Your instinct actually is to adventure out and to seek new concepts, new belief systems. You need a lot of stimulation. So what can happen quite easily with every Sagittarius I've ever known is they just get so bored so fast. So Earth trine energy is boring. It is, because it's the same consistent source of energy, which can make you somewhat restless. And so I believe that for some of you, you're getting a little bit of a challenge You may be getting either internally restless with what you're identifying with. You could just be getting bored in the life path that you're in. And so there's this challenge, this energy that's challenging you to really reconsider your life path destiny. I mean, is it a forward-moving life path destiny? For some of you, it's bored in relationships. Maybe some of your relationships are either opposing you and adding a little bit too much conflict for you to feel really they don't feel pleasurable as you desire them to feel. Or I think that for some of you, another thing that this could be is it could be that they're just boring in general because, it's just so easy. There's no, every Sagittarius I've ever known needs that debatable energy, that enough opposition to stimulate them, to challenge them. So for some of you, it's just too easy. It's a little mundane. And so some of you may be dealing with the mundane concepts, which is boring as hell. So I think that for some of you, what's hard is there's a dualism in this mindset. There's the dualistic two sides of this coin. You have either, I feel like for some of you, there's an extreme in what you're identifying with. So, or what the relationships see that you are identifying with. And so there's some opposition there. Significant opposition. Saturn is really, you don't even want to know what's going down with Saturn. Saturn is almost going to, down to that final last little tiny degree, it's almost going to be exact. It's going to be about down to 1 degree. It's going to oppose Jupiter. So there is a reality check. There is a get control. There is a consequence. There is a yin and a yang, a black and a white. Man, there is an extreme here that you are being asked to deeply consider, because this extreme is not a healthy mindset moving forward. This extreme does not elevate your experience. This extreme in what you identify with is not going to serve you moving forward. You will not be able to lead effectively in your career life path destiny the way that you desire to lead your life. So I believe what is very significant at this time is that you are being asked to balance. Now, here's what I believe. I believe that karma and destiny has aligned you with some very significant home and family situation that is grounding your energy. What I believe that you are resisting, however, is that ambitious nature to be your free-spirited self out there exploring and to not be tied down. But this source is so appealing. So there lies the conundrum that you're in. It makes sense to be here. It's stable. It's reliable. You're feeling grounded. There's enough draw. It's an opposition. So there is enough draw for you to validate it. But there is a significant sense of restlessness that I think that you're deeply identifying with in this energy. It may be difficult to make this commitment because I think for some of you, it's almost like you feel like, I feel like you feel like it's a loss of freedom of expression or something that you deeply used to value, a mindset. I think you like extreme. You're so decadent. I think you're used to getting it. So you attract it easily. So I think it's this energy does not feel very good to me because it just feels very, I don't like extreme energy. So I'm I really love, in my second house is Capricorn energy. I deeply value being grounded and consistent sources and goal-oriented. So this energy to me just feels like you're kind of losing perspective. And Saturn's asking you to reconsider and re-identify your perspectives. So I think that this energy, I think you're connecting with Earth energy. I think for some of you, if you're in a really high form of this vibration, you may be attaching to this beautiful, harmonious flow of energy. It's this family situation is grounding you. You're making life path, choices that are considerably more reasonable, logical. And And I think you're starting to make some really good routines out of this. I mean, the habitual mindset is very elevated. For some of you working in the opposing extreme, it could just be restlessness, boredom, lack of, like you just be completely mentally not stimulated enough to identify with where you're at. This is a passing energy, so I would just be very mindful of what I'm being influenced by. Why am I being compelled to have this extreme in me? Is it some sort of automated programming that, maybe I've been living my life this way for so long in extremes that I can't really appreciate and identify how important it is to have a consistent source of energy in my life? For some of you, this could be that, just in general, what attracted you about this person probably doesn't attract you anymore because it's just, maybe their extreme doesn't match your lifestyle anymore. Either way, I feel that it's definitely an energy that I think you're going to find it hard to balance your extremes in your relationships if some of you are caught in the negative vibration. Gemini energy in Venus may make it difficult for you to maintain extremes, especially if it involves pleasure seeking. Some of you are just going to be a pleasure seeking all over the place. You're just going to be a pleasure seeking whore. Like you just want it all. Like you want to feel good. You want your relationships to stimulate you. You want your life path to stimulate you. You're a little overindulgent in your routines, like what you value. It comes to you so easy right now that you're just going to be pushed into an extreme type of mindset. This is to reel you back. This is to get you grounded again. This is to get you to consider the correct perspective. Saturn will be in here kicking your ass. I mean, that's basically what's going to happen, making you re-identify with an area in your life that needs to have some stability applied to it. No biggie. Everybody goes through this. I know that you're a Sagittarius and you're just living life because you're this beautiful outsource of information, like you're just like a beam. But sometimes you've got to get reeled back. And Saturn and this squaring off that's going to happen almost like at that 1 degree mark is really going to give you a hand slapping if you're living in the extremes. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, beautiful Capricorns. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Venus moving into Gemini. Guess what? You're still working in some squares and some extremes. Cool. Fine. So, like you've been doing it for a while, you're cool with it. So let's talk about, first of all, when you have Gemini energy conjunct the sun, Venus and Gemini conjunct the sun, I think what this has a lot to do with is, and mind you, Saturn is trining Uranus. So so the extreme can be either extreme, like there's nothing reeling you back when you have Uranus trining Saturn. So to me, you're either incredibly out of control and there's an ease in being out of control because there's nothing resisting this mindset to make you see that extreme, or flip side of the extreme is that you could be having a lot of ease in extreme. You have a lot of control over a family, a home and family situation, or, the direction that your home and family is going in. So you have a lot of control. Either way, there's an extreme to it. What in turn happens is a lot of squaring off in this energy. So Venus and Gemini may expose you to some of the extremes in your mindsets. Realizations are possible, and you could develop a respect for disciplining the extremes in your thought process on a day-to-day basis. What we're trying to do is move away from extremes, and we're trying to get caught up in this gorgeous, harmonious earth trine that is helping us move away from karmic cycles that no longer serve us and up to a mindset where we habitually on a day-to-day basis have much more balanced mindsets. And so to do that, we have to have extremes sometimes point that out. I have had this happen to me more times in my life than I can consider because, well, I have a Venus. Well, I'm sorry, I have my moon in Aries, and I have a dualistic nature anyway because I'm a cusp baby. So I'm, a Leo on the cusp of Cancer. And so there's a lot of extremes. I'm ruled by the sun, and my chart ruler I'm ruled by the sun and I'm ruled by the moon. Dualistic, Mother Earth, Father Time. Masculine, feminine, I'm all over the place. I have had throughout my life, my karmic cycles have shown me to merge these two dualities. And it allows me to see two different perspectives. There's a beauty in duality. But there's also a very bipolar aspect to duality. So what we really want to do is stay away from the bipolar aspect of duality, the squaring off and the quincunx. And we want to embrace the elevated experience of being a dualist, having a dualistic nature, or being influenced by dualistic energy. It makes you adaptable. It makes you understanding. It makes you consider both sides of every coin. It makes you understand that there are two prospect solutions. There's no fixed mindset. So you can understand that duality has the word gray comes to mind when I've been thinking of you, when I've been feeling you. It's not black or white, which you can get caught up in, because to me, those are rational thought processes. If it's like a flow chart, if I do these things on a flow chart, inevitably my flow chart ends up this way. But there's always some gray random aspect that when you release your software or release some sort of engineering, a plan or whatever, there's that gray that you didn't consider. The materials that you were using, the consistency of the materials that you were using. Or, the response to the hardware in your software that you just didn't consider in that flow chart quite as effectively as you had hoped to. There was a gray area pointed out. So for some of you, this is just pointing out a big fat gray area that doesn't, to you, it makes you feel extreme. There's either a desire to control it, to hyper control it, or there's the desire on the flip side. I salivated. What? Or the desire to you're losing control. And so there's a desire to get control. So there's a desire to, you're over controlling it, like you're hyper controlling it, or you have no control. But either way, there's an extreme there. So Jupiter is expanding the big picture during this time of internal growth and expansion. You may be realizing various areas in your life that require some consistency. When Jupiter expands anything, it expands it in a big damn way. So for some of you, this could be the holy cow, holy shit, I've just expanded a crack in my life into a giant crevice that just sucks my life into it. And I have to do some major reconsidering onto the direction that my life is going. But it can expand opportunity and growth and energy in the right direction so that you can have a strong, it's being motivated by Virgo energy, which is a earth-based mindset. So it can expand stability, it can expand longevity, it can expand consistency, or it can expand inconsistency. It can expand the lack of longevity, and it can expand the lack of control in these areas. So you may be feeling sensitive right now, if you are in the negative vibration of the Sun and Venus and Gemini, you may manifest extremes in the way that you process disappointment and control. For some of you, this is the need to hyper control your environment because there is a fear associated with losing control, loss, not getting what you want, disappointment, not reaching your goals. And so there's a need to hyper control it in order for you to manifest what you want it to be. You are focused, goal oriented, and you refuse to be adaptable. It's not about the black and white in this energy. It's about a new perspective. So if some of you are caught in these vigilant, just I've got to have it my way, guess what? You're going to get your ass kicked by Saturn. Gonna quincunx you. Wow. And what it is it's because it's the refusal to take the right risks. mentally, that will bring you a significant long-term outcome, because there's something you're harnessing it, you're controlling it. It's like putting a beautiful butterfly in a jar. I hate it when people do this. I know kids do it, but I hate it. I never liked my kids to do it for too long. But you want to harness the beauty in a jar because you want to look at the beauty every time you want to. You want to keep it just for yourself because it's beautiful. But in order for its true beauty to be expanded upon, it needs to fly around. It needs to soak up nectar. It needs to go from flower to flower. You need to see a beautiful butterfly on a flower, and that's complete beauty. You know, or you need to see it flying and free for it to be completely beautiful. So I want you to understand that for some of you, you may be deeply compelled to excessive pleasure seek in this energy. I think it's difficult to be challenged, to submit some control to forces outside of your control. And so what do? You excessive pleasure seek in order to make you feel, it's almost like you don't have control, but you don't want to realize that you've lost control or that you lack control. And so what you do is you mask it, and in your head you have control, but really, honestly, you really never ever have control. It's like trying to control the action of another, but there really is no control over how people act. Like there's not, you can force them, you can browbeat them, you can make them submit to you, but inevitably, you will never mentally have the control that you seek over somebody, because they're just a volatile, that would create a volatile source. They may habitually react the way that you expect, and then privately, like secretively, react in a different way that's more authentic to them, because they will always seek to be authentic, especially in this energy. It does have the potential for beauty, I think, for you. The challenge is to really align your habitual mindsets with freedom and lack of control and acceptance in that. And there lies the trine. The trine in energy could be Saturn is saying you don't have any control. Maybe the universe has control. Maybe you want to think that nothing has control. Maybe you want to think that astrology doesn't have control, or that there's not a religious parameter that you have to work in, but there is. You know, if it's one thing that I know at my age is that we're on this planet. We have a purpose. Even if it's to do something destructive in our life, it's that then creates an equal and opposite reaction externally, like as people. So it is a beautiful experience. It's a very, very elevating experience. Venus being in Gemini and being conjunct with the sun is about aligning your desires with a more dualistic approach. You know, the mindsets that I was talking about, the positive mindsets about being an adaptable energy source and not so fixed and hyper controlling everything. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. Hi, dear Aquarius. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Venus moving into Gemini. Now, this is actually, Iris has the ability to be some very beautiful energy if you're looking at trying to become adaptable as a fixed energy source. So I think Venus moving into Gemini can be an extreme energy when Saturn is trining Uranus. The way that you interpret your immediate environment and social circles may need to be evaluated. When Uranus trine Saturn, there is nothing opposing, nothing reeling you back. So the possibility for extremes in mindsets particularly comes to mind in your day-to-day environment. Habitually what you do comes to mind. For some of you, This can be deeply an internal process. It could be the way that fear emotionally drives some of your choices for stability. So it could be that you're trying to stabilize energy in a very unstable energy time. Like it really isn't. It's a dualistic, adaptable energy. We're being forced to kind of into extremes. You're not wanting to feel the extremes anymore. I think for some of you, you may be hyper connecting to like, well, this energy source is stability. This is the only way that, because I'm never going to get what I want. So I'm going to just, I'm going to hyper connect to this stable source because, to me, this just makes rational, logical sense. I mean, all of those mindsets are very valid in this energy. Now, remember that what you're trying to do is you're trying to swing the pendulum somewhat closer together. So you're here. Your pendulum is going like this. What we want to do is have our pendulum really go like this. And then like this, and get closer and closer to where it's just a nice little close ballet, lots of freedom, lots of space, moving together. The flow is very harmonious. That can be very difficult when you are dealing with extremes, when you have nothing putting things in perspective. Saturn is not reeling you back. It's not controlling these extremes either externally or internally. So the energy is steering you in a different direction. The point of this transit is to bring pleasurable experiences back into your life. I do believe that this is a growth cycle that will help you value emotional stability as well as financial security. Extremes will become apparent to you in this energy. Some of you may be forced to see what you are idealizing as an outcome. Some of the extremes in us is what we idealize about what we are fixating on. And so being adaptable to see the human, like let's say that we idealize this outcome. We desire security right now. So we choose a job that provides us with the most stable source of income that we can think of. We've been wanting it for a while. We've invested in it, but then we get in a job and it's like crap. We don't like it. We don't like the people we work with. It wasn't everything that I idealized. I know that in the medical field, when I went to school, I idealized helping others. What I really had to deal with is the fact that, insurance companies often prevent us from helping others. The fact that we have 15-minute slots, that we've got to see a patient in, and that patient has an issue that should have a slot that's like 30 to 45 minutes. We'll tell them to come back and we'll address like a tenth of their issue in that 15-minute slot. There's no consistency because they're probably sometimes not even seeing the same doctor because there's just not enough available slots for the patient. These patients get lost, or how about the prescription medication that they should be prescribed is, this would be the most optimum results, but guess what? It's not on the preferred formulary. So the preferred formulary, we have to go off of whatever we can get closest to. Perhaps that would not be the most ideal medication for them because it has more side effects than the trade name version, because they won't pay for trade. They'll only pay for generic forms of medication. So as long as it's in that same classification, they think it's good enough. So it became very irritating to me that what healthcare came down to is how it could be paid for. And these patients are lost in the whole process. So for some of you, the realizations are exactly what I was just saying. So it's like, we want to make these difference. Our pendulum is is swinging in like complete extremes. We realize that we want to get some control over it. But right now there's a lack of support for controlling that. Because it's not about controlling that. It's about being adaptable. What I had to do was be in the medical field, just not in the form of the medical field that I had been prior. So I'm still in the medical field. I'm just teaching in the medical field. I get much more reward out of that. I get to help. I get that same mindset. I get to help somebody every single day, but I get to teach them how to help others. So there's this significant reward that comes out of that. Again, this all had to come to me over a great deal of expansion. I had to look at things at both the big picture, the elevated mindset, and I also had to take a look at it in my day-to-day life, what would deeply fulfill me. So a lot of us are looking at these hopeful mindsets. You know, we have this idealistic type of energy, Saturn trining Uranus, but we also have the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation is, you know, what is driving you to kind of, I don't know, seek what you're seeking? I had to really get down and ask myself, like, what really makes me happy? Because it just seemed like nothing made me happy. Well, something did make me happy. It just hadn't been revealed because I hadn't even had that conversation with myself. So I think in this energy, you will be challenged to be adaptable. Change is needed and necessary for a lot of you. So extremes in your environment will force you to see the value you should place on stability and consistency. I want to hammer that home. This is about embracing the earth trine. This is about moving away from karmic journeys that no longer serve us. If some of us do not know what we value, or we are having a difficult time defining what we value, Jupiter will go in and expand that in a very extreme way to really help us identify that extreme. If we continue to have that mindset like that extreme, you know, in what we're placing a lot of energy into, what we hope to, you know, to bring into our lives. So some of you, this is about endings and beginnings. Some of you, this is about deaths and rebirth. Some of you, this is about, you know, this is about accepting that the extremes in energy have a positive and negative. So even if it's negative, there's still a positive result. If it's positive, there's still the possibility of this negative reinforcement before we get to this positive result. So it's work is what it boils down to. It's work, and it's very significant change in mindsets. What it is, I think, also is it's about realizing that there is a big world called gray, not black, not white. We don't have to swing so far. There is a gray world that brings the pendulum much closer to each other. There is a opposition, a conversation where the duality of the two mindsets start to make sense, where it gives us enough yin and yang for us to become more balanced, more secure, create longevity, because we are not as extreme anymore. I think getting into a positive routine will ground your energy and eventually bring you to consistent happiness. This isn't about extremely, like, I'm heavy, so I work out on an extreme, or, you know what, I'm fat, so I don't eat. You know, it can't be any of these extremes. It's got to be logical. It's got to be reasonable for the mind to make a commitment to. If you're working in extremes, you can't commit to any of these things because it's extreme, because intuitively you're being guided that that's still an extreme mindset and you're not on the correct path. So the energy is molding you. There's a significant amount of energy in opposition doing that. That does not mean the universe is picking on you. It does not mean that those external sources out there are not working against you. What it simply means is that you are a beautiful piece of clay being molded into something magnificent, and so you need to play a little with this adaptable energy, and you need to open yourself up, and you have to be authentic. I think one of the things that I see a lot in Aquarians is they're not authentic with themselves. It's like there's an extreme, there's a sadness, there's something that they don't feel full on, but they don't want to acknowledge it, because if they acknowledge it, they would have to really acknowledge that that they have to change something, and you get fixed on what you want. It is a beautiful energy. Enjoy this. You know, when you have this decadent Venus conjunct with the sun, it is about extremes. So you could be pleasure seeking, you could be just doing everything that makes you feel good. I just deeply don't feel like that's you. I think more or less you could either be attracting extreme people like that as teaching you about your extremes. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event. my dear Pisces. This is Annette with Annette's Astrology Corner, and this is your energetic reading for Venus moving into Gemini. So this is a dualistic energy. I think you work very well with dualistic energies. So this energy is lovely. I think it's a very self-indulgent energy when you have Venus conjunct the sun. So you've got Venus, the planet of pleasure. If you desire pleasure, it attracts pleasurable sources into you. You almost got to be mindful of this. The extreme in this energy is that beware of the pleasure seeking that you attach to. Is it moderate? Is it consistent? Or is it extreme? Is it a high 1 minute and a low the next minute? I think it's very important to look at the extreme when you're aligning yourself. I think a consistent source of positive energy is going to attract some very consistent results for you. I think this energy will challenge you to value keeping both feet firmly planted on the ground. This is a little bit idealistic energy. I think this is very hopeful, alive, energetic perceptions in your mind. But is it actually what is realistically going on in your immediate environment? Your feet need to be on the ground. You have had a lot of eye-opening experiences about what you are identifying with, of what serves you, what does not serve, what you identify with, what you used to identify with in the past, and what you currently identify with in the future. Just be very respectful of the karmic journey that you've been on, and always consider the yin and the yang in your mind of like what you've been learning in this incredibly adaptable, high octave energy, I guess. I think that for some of you, you will feel grounded already. For some of you, you guys are on the right track. You have been really attaching to this earth trine. It's grounding you. It's making you make some choices that you probably wouldn't have in the past because these sources are very reliable. You are attaching to the word reliability. You're identifying with the consistent sources in your life. I believe that some of you are attracting relationships, significant bonds and unions. These do not have to be that classic relationship. It can be a very significant grounding source, a person that is a significant bond. I have had several relationships that have been significant bonds with the opposite sex for years, where they were my whole world. I revolved my life around them. But they were not, it wasn't a sexual connection, it was a mental connection. And for them, you know, some of these relationships were like 20 years plus running. And that was because I significantly attached a lot of value in how consistent I felt about them and they felt about me. And there was no pressure for that, you know, sex or anything else to interfere with it. It was just a harmonious union between two people. You know, for some of you, if you're not in relationships and you can easily attract these significant bonds in your life that have the ability to stand the test of time. And that really grounds you when you have a really reliable source of energy around you, kind of, you know, making you mutable to consistency of yourself. You're like a piece of clay. So whatever you kind of align with, it's like that's where your energy kind of molds you into. Make it be around those consistent sources of energy. I think that many of you are starting to look at your life in a whole new way. There's a lot of options on the table, and you're very excited about some of these significant changes. I believe that if you idealize an expectation, you will identify the past patterns in doing so. You're going to move away from that. Remember, you don't want to be doing anything that you've been doing for a really long time. The past has a significant message for you. It has over these last few months. I believe what's very significant for you is, you know, Neptune's going to go into retrograde here in June. And I believe that this forward energy, you're going to get to refine. So don't be afraid of anything that you're attracting into your life. Accept it. Because if it needs to be refined, it'll be refined in June. I believe that if you desire a relationship, I believe that you could easily attract it. Again, this energy is all about attracting what you deeply desire, what you identify with, and what will make you feel pleasure, a source of pleasure. The only thing that I would like to forewarn you with is if you could just attach to somebody who is more of an earth-based mindset and not so much, don't attract anybody who's extreme or likes pleasure seeking in any sort of extreme that supports those mindsets, because that can veer you off track. And be very, very mindful of the fact that this person has made significant life choices that you can validate, that you can take a look at and think, wow, they have made some very consistent progress in their life. And I want to get to know them, because who you surround yourself with is significantly what you attract into your life. They also are a significant mirror about how you are. So if you're attracting a lot of extremes in this energy, excessive in either direction, then I think what you can be sure is that there's something that is not, you are excessive in some way mentally, or the energy that you're giving off, there's some sort of excessive programming, something, a tendency, a block in energy that's, making you kind of bounce back and forth between extremes. If you are on the right track, you are starting to attract some lovely energy that is going to start building some significant bonds and unions that stand the test of time. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching Annette's Astrology Corner, and I look forward to talking to you guys again on the next astrological event.